Rob Bonta, California Attorney General. Thank you for joining us today for an important announcement that we're making involving the California Department of Justice's fentanyl enforcement efforts. And I want to acknowledge and thank members of my team leading this work, some of whom join me today, including Chief John Marsh, who leads our Division of Law Enforcement, and our team within the Bureau of Investigation, including our Director, Stephen Woolery, Assistant Director, Michael Matson, Special Agent in Charge, Tom Pellegrini, our INCA Task Force Commander, Chad Devlin, Special Agent in Charge and LA Impact Executive Director, Rigoberto Garcia, Special Agent in Charge, Rachel Capello, HIIT Task Force Commander, Val Pacheco, our Magnet Task Force Commander, Aaron Hutchison, Special Agent in Charge, Susie Perry, PSIU Task Force Commander, Jason Oliver. A big team. Can't thank them enough for their work and their efforts to take on our opioid crisis generally and our fentanyl crisis specifically. And I want to thank all of our law enforcement partners across California, a long list of men and women and agencies, far too long to fully say here, but I want to thank them. Generally, we stand shoulder to shoulder with them, they with us, as we make our communities safer and seize deadly drugs off of our streets. Our fentanyl enforcement efforts are critical for public safety. Fentanyl is up to 50 times stronger than heroin. A small amount of this synthetic opioid, just 2 milligrams, is enough, which is enough to fit on the tip of a pencil, is enough to kill. So very small amounts are very powerful and very lethal. Illicit fentanyl is often added to other drugs, including heroin, meth, counterfeit pills, cocaine. More and more people are being poisoned by it, and we've even recently seen an alarming uptick in reports about a rainbow-colored fentanyl pill that some say may be targeting children and teens, and we're concerned about that, and we'll be sharing more with the public soon. But just because it's in full color doesn't make it any less lethal, so we need to be very wary and careful. As we invest in efforts to take this deadly poison off our streets, it's important to acknowledge how we got here. The fentanyl crisis didn't emerge in a vacuum. The rise of fentanyl is the newest wave of the opioid crisis we've been battling for 3 decades. This crisis began in the 90s and was fueled by corporate greed, pharmaceutical companies who put profits over lives by misleading the American public about the risks and addictive nature of opioids. This led to serious overprescribing and serious addiction. As law enforcement agencies, including ours, began to crack down on the flood of pills, Americans who had become addicted to opioids turned to other means, illicit heroin, and more recently, illicit fentanyl. Fentanyl is easier to move. It's exponentially stronger, so criminal organizations make more money per pound than other drugs. As this crisis continues, so do our enforcement efforts. That's why we're fighting the opioid crisis on 2 fronts. On Wall Street is one front. DOJ is obtaining judgments to hold the opioid industry accountable for their unabashed pill pushing. In fact, to date, we have secured over $32 billion, billion with a B, through nationwide settlements to hold the big opioid peddlers accountable and bring funding back to our state to help combat this crisis. On Main Street as well, we are fighting. DOJ is on the ground every single day dealing with the impacts of the crisis and working with law enforcement partners, seizing fentanyl, making arrests, and filing serious criminal charges. We're here today to highlight those efforts, and that gets me to our news. I'm proud to announce that since April 2021, DOJ-led task forces have seized over 4 million fentanyl pills and nearly 900 pounds of fentanyl powder, and arrested over 200 dealers and poison peddlers across the state. 4 million fentanyl pills, 900 pounds of powder, over 200 dealers and poison peddlers arrested. These operations have aggressively and strategically worked to detect, to deter, to disrupt, and dismantle fentanyl rings and criminal enterprises, supply chain networks, and criminal syndicates to prevent fentanyl from reaching our neighborhoods and help those directly impacted by this public health crisis. This work has touched many communities. Take, for example, that right here in Southern California, after a thorough investigation, we executed an operation through the Los Angeles Impact Task Force that resulted in the seizure of 52 pounds of powder fentanyl. That's enough fentanyl to make 250,000 pills, 250,000 pills, each with the power to kill. These deadly drugs have been taken off our streets, and the suspect now faces serious felony charges. In neighboring Riverside, weeks ago, a DOJ-led task force conducted an extensive sting operation that resulted in the seizure of over 110,000 fentanyl pills. Think of the lives that were potentially saved in just one takedown operation. We're talking about moms and dads and even potentially children. These takedowns are not isolated. We have a long list of them, and we will have more to add because we're leading this work in every corner of our state, working leads and conducting investigations every day in Southern California, Northern California, the Central Valley, and the Inland Empire. The millions of fentanyl pills we've destroyed will soon have company. In our budget this year, we secured $7.9 million, just shy of $8 million, for the creation of a new program within the Department of Justice to expand this important enforcement work. We're using these funds to hire 25 new positions to combat this crisis, allowing us to go further with our partners and make more of an impact. In short, today is a down payment on our work to tackle the fentanyl crisis, and the poison peddlers in our neighborhood should watch out because we are coming for them next. As we work with our law enforcement partners to take down criminal fentanyl operations, we are not interested in restarting the failed war on drugs, where those struggling with addiction are thrown behind bars. They deserve resources, treatment, help, and compassion, but we will not extend that same grace to those who poison our loved ones. Absolutely not. The fentanyl dealers on Main Street, the big pill pushers on Wall Street, we are holding them to account. Securing billions of dollars in restitution from the companies responsible for this crisis, securing lengthy felony sentences for those supplying this deadly drug to our families. If a fentanyl dealer hasn't been caught yet, today they should know we're coming for you next. I want to close on an important note. Law enforcement can't solve this crisis alone. We all have a role, whether it is medical practitioners limiting inappropriate use of prescription opioids that lead to addiction, community organizations and clinics helping people seek treatment for opioid misuse, or an everyday person recognizing the signs of an overdose and seeking help. We must all deploy best practices, implement harm reduction tools, and do our part to blunt the risks of death, addiction, and injury. The fentanyl crisis can only be solved if we work together. And I'm hopeful that with enough accountability and with enough resources, both of which we highlight today, we can stem the tide, heal our communities, and save lives.